Hello, and welcome to Smileys. There's no beating around the bush. We're doing Forge of Darkness, chapter 13 and 14, and if you've read the chapter, you know why we're like this. So this is a content warning, because, obviously, if you've read this chapter, why are you here? Haven't you had enough trauma? If you've not read this chapter, please turn away now, because there's a lot of trauma coming up. Welcome, and I'm Lee. This is my drink. Hello, Maura.
Hi. So,
are you ready?
Reading these chapters.
Bad.
You look happy.
So, I have a lot of thoughts about the chapter as a whole, especially just the writing style and the absolute fucking dread with which I read it, because knowing what comes up later just made everything seem so much bleaker and darker and just worse.
Yeah.
To give credit where credit is due, it is very well written. The imagery is very evoking. Evocative. Both chapters. Yeah. Both chapters are very well written, very evocative. Especially 14 has some great dialogue towards the middle. Just no beating around the bush. I'm going to start with the summary here. So,
no, it's the writing which makes it that bad, isn't it? It's because it's that well written. You can't just skip it or ignore it and go over it. Hamlet, please start 13. I'm all ears. Oh, and apologies. We have read these chapters, I believe, just once, and then did the summaries, and then we've not revised the summaries.
Yeah,
It's going to be a journey. We're going to discover some things together.
We're going to discover it together. Yeah, exactly. So,
let's go.
So the chapter opens with Kadaspala, who is thinking about gods, their natures, their purpose, their finality. He wasn't personally a believer in gods. He sees all too clearly into their natures of sowing discord to reap destruction, but he is keenly aware of the mechanics of how gods are bred, created, given life, empowered, weakened, destroyed. He doesn't want them. He wants nothing to do with them. But alas, he has gods of his own, the gods of color. He openly admits that he doesn't understand. Yeah?
Do we have gods of color?
Yeah, I guess so. Though I think Kadaspala's case is more abstract, so it's more like, yeah.
He does say gods of color, so.
Well, he openly admits that he doesn't understand the nature of these gods, so there's your answer. The gods of color are unlike the other venal gods in that they appear to Kadaspala at unexpected times, and never directly. He can sense them with all of his senses, but he cannot bargain with or understand them. They were omnipresent, ubiquitous, in every place but one, and that place was death. The innumerable colors, shades, and tones made up all that was alive, after all, and so the lack thereof would only be found in death. An incalculable loss the absence of color was, a place where the gods went to die. We learned the reason for Kadaspala's thinking, which is he's writing. He's riding through a forest at midday. We also learned that he would often paint with twitches of his fingers.
Do you know that? Do you know that story?
No.
That it's Erikson's own thing. Like, Erikson used to have this habit. I mean, I don't know if he still has it, but he once mentioned in one of the interviews with, those hour-long interviews he used to do with Claudia. Yeah. He mentioned in one of those that he has this habit of, sketching things with his fingers. So that's his own.
Today I learned.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Talk, I'm giving you a break so that you have a sip of your drink and.
I mean, I don't have that much of a drink, and I need to save it for later, for when the bad things come.
Oh,
we're still in easy territory.
Right,
so yeah. So we also learned that he would often paint twitches of his fingers. He would create a mental image, painting, and fill it with colors. To him, his painting of reality was what made it tangibly real. And that's what terrified him about death. When the gods of color are silent, and the inner conversation ends, with it ends life and reality itself. And to hammer that point home, we lastly learn that Karaspala is gazing at the body of a denied child. Cheers.
Oh God, don't say cheers.
The huts on this track of the forest had all been burnt down, and the inhabitants of the village were put to the sword. Or the flames, but whatever. Another woman had been burned and then stabbed in the back. The place was redolent with the absence of the gods of color. Karaspala would seek to remedy that by painting the dead child's face. Once, twice, 10 times, 100, 1,000, millions of times. He would spend a lifetime's worth painting this child and none other. And every time someone would speak up about violence, in the name of justice, or purity, or safety, he would show them this image. A dead child, with its face just barely stained with dirt, a weird angle between head and torso, and a bruised ankle. And Karaspala, who is howling in grief and despair, is overcome by a strange calm, and he speaks his thoughts aloud, for naught but our own ears to hear. Do you like this? The veil pulled away, exposing the rawness beneath? It is for you to judge, and act accordingly, for I cannot change nor judge you or your beliefs. Judge, then, only my efforts in attempting to do so, by painting this. I choose to paint death. And you ask, why? Because life is too much to bear. But even here I fail, because a painting can never truly depict and display life. Each time I paint this boy, I fail. I fail when you turn away, when you forget, when you walk past, when you shout at me about not painting the beautiful things. And I fail to let you into what we all share. This failure is not but recognition. Murderers abound throughout the scene. These peaceful individuals that hurt nobody, with whom Karaspala would concert in his trek through the forest, have perished for their worship of the river god. And Karaspala resolves not to bury them. Let nature take back what it gave to them as they would wish it. A small detail catches his attention. As his horse walks over the boy, his corpse is wholly covered within shadows. The gift of light is not present then, and he comes to revelation. The gift of Mother Dark is blissful ignorance, so that we can get on with things. The culprits of the massacre are not too far from his position, perhaps a day's ride away. They may as well kill him, but he didn't care, for he had 10,000 faces in his mind, and they were all the same. Nothing could penetrate his thoughts then, not his love for Anestia, not the imminent danger he's putting himself into, not even the portrait of Lord Durusander. What he spared, however, he would ride to Anestia and finally do what he'd wanted to do since forever. I'm not in the mood to make a shitty joke about this. He's going to paint his sister and depict love as only he can. Anestia would be his priestess. She would be the rebirth of his faith. Yeah. He understood now that all the artists lived in... Oh, yeah. Yeah. I mean... Yeah.
His faith is renewed. It's fine. Tragedy. We shouldn't be reading this type of tragedy.
I know. He understood now that all artists lived in a world of lies and self-deceit. No one succeeded in fighting truths. All of them failed. Karaspala recognizes what he calls the god behind the gods of color, the driving force behind creation, the god that forced recognition upon him. And in that moment, Karaspala wanted to look into its eyes and see it for what it is. Mad. And in that moment, Karaspala avowed that he would make a god.
Really?
But,
really?
Yeah.
You would?
You would. I'm not going to drink yet. It's fine. But in this moment, Karaspala could do not.
More?
Yeah. I have
No,
I have a few sips.
Running out of it?
No. It's like I'm saving it for later. We'll get to that anyway.
Yeah,
but in this moment, Karaspala could do not but continue endlessly painting that one face that dominated his thoughts. His fingers were tools of creation. At once, they could close wounds, they could unravel knots, they could remake the whole world anew. But they did none of this, instead locked in an endless quest to paint the face of death over and over and over again. And Karaspala attributes this to the madness of the god of the gods. And so, he vows to paint the face of darkness and unleash the inside. Paint the face of darkness and give it a dead child's eyes. Because in darkness we see nothing. In darkness, behold, there is peace.
You know what is more fun? To read this section when you're also reading Toll the Hounds. And you see what exactly he's up to. Like, it's almost as if both were written by the same guy, both the books. Sort of.
You think?
Yeah, yeah. It looks like
it's possible.
That.
Oh god. This is not getting any easier.
Yeah. So we just finished a whole bunch of monologuing. We are 10 minutes into the recording? And we had...
And I'm monologuing a lot, goddamn.
One monologue.
If that's anything to say about how long the chapters actually are.
So, are we going to meeting Narad and Barsa and the rest?
Yep.
Is it next?
So, do you have anything to add about Kadaspala before we get into Narad and the boys?
I think I just mentioned. Yeah, it's all this unleashing the dead, unleashing the inside. It's all the whole Dragnipur thing that's what I was thinking when I was reading this. Did we mention spoiler warnings in this episode?
We didn't.
We just gave content warnings, but by now, yeah, we're more than halfway. It's fine.
So
pros. We are pros.
Yeah, pros. For sure. So we cut over to Narad, who is currently examining his face.
He's also brushing something with his fingers, right?
Yes.
His face.
Yes. Yeah. So, yeah. He concludes, after brushing his face with his fingers, that he is an ugly man now. So he knew what he was getting into by his own admission. He knew Harald's history, and he kept pushing regardless. And he recalls the look of pleasure in Harald's face, as all the anger welling up within him finally found an opening to burst forth. Plenty of anger among the dice, for 1,000 imagined slights, 100,000. Harald is trying to convince himself of the truth of these words, of his capability to drown his sorrow, to accept the burden of necessity, to deny the existence of a world of tenderness and warmth. Not anymore, not for him. Now, Narad was among soldiers, and he felt at home. He had stumbled upon them after having been beaten, and he'd been treated and cared for, and now he rides with them. Pleasant breeze so far. The troop had begun a war against the deniers, though Narad could not see the deniers as much of a threat to begin with, and they had slaughtered a village's worth of men, women, and children the other day. I spoke to Sue. It was professional, and there was mercy in that. It was
because
necessary.
Nobody got raped, right?
Yeah.
That's what it was.
No torture, no rape, nothing. Which
that's the standard.
We'll come back to that later.
Oh God! But that's yeah.
What's
the difference between Barsa
should we just talk about it now?
What is there to talk about? There's nothing to talk about.
No. What I mean is, the Legion is professional, but when the Legion dresses up as deniers, suddenly they're all, brutal savages.
No, I was thinking more of Barsa being a decent man, a halfway decent man.
No.
He is.
I doubt it.
He is, because he has all these doubts with him, isn't it? Like Skara told us to sit tight, but it was that Hunral's whore who told us to do this stuff. Things like that. He has his doubts. He's not evil. He's like level 1.
No one among the Legion except for like Rahl are actually evil. They're disgruntled, they're assholes, but they don't We'll get to that.
Those two people, the chapter 14 people are all evil.
Okay, yeah. I will agree with that.
Yeah.
I will agree with that. So, anyway. Yeah.
Oh God, we have
the slaughter of the deniers was
too fast
necessary.
So that I can finish it and be done. Sorry.
It was necessary, except Narad had trouble finding the necessity.
Yeah.
Which speaks quite a bit when Narad is the one that says, hang on, is this really necessary? But anyway. So, he hadn't actively fought anyone during the raid, because the battle had been long over by the time he actually reached there, but he was ordered to put a woman out of her misery. The very woman that Kadaspala described earlier, crawling, half-burned, but silent. Horribly silent. Eerily silent.
Can you... Yeah.
Narad wishes he could see what he'd done as a mercy, but he cannot, and the killing still haunted him. The Legionnaires treat the deniers as little more than dirt, not even diced. We've seen this brought up before. But Nara doesn't buy into that. Even more ironically, the soldiers worshipped Captain Scarabaderis, a man so strict and disciplined he would probably have strung up the troop for being drunk. To say that they did not understand irony would be topical. Yeah, there is a quote in chapter 1, in right after the prelude, which says, the ignorant are not capable of understanding irony.
Yeah.
So, even Galad is look at these idiots. But, yeah. Right. So, Narad, to summarize, he knows doubts. He wishes to see Scarabaderis and understand for himself why this war against the deniers was necessary.
Yeah.
Who knows? He understands that vermin need to be exterminated. He had grown up in a farm where rodents were infesting, and no excuse of rats living for themselves would save them. But he couldn't find anything in the deniers that wouldn't become akin to vermin. Even then, he kept telling himself it wasn't murder, but mercy. And even then, he was an ugly man now. His face wasn't his, and neither were these hands. Pause?
Yeah.
Oh. Okay. Yeah, sorry. He was an ugly man now. His face wasn't his, and neither were these hands. Yesterday was someone else's crime, and beauty had no place in his world.
Beauty. Sarah and beauty are
Yeah, that comes up again, obviously.
Spoiler alert.
Actually, it comes up again just now. The man astride a mule rides to the Legion encampment. Narrated in person, ride to greet him. He identifies the man as a highborn by his dress, and we know the man to be Garaspala, who immediately, and rightly, accuses the troop of the murders of the deniers. They are members of the Legion, Urisander's Legion, though Urisander knows not what they do in his name. Yikes.
Story of the century,
Yeah. So why, in Mahadur's name, is the Legion waging war upon innocent men, women, and children? Clearly not by Urisander's command, because Garaspala was with him. Corporal Bursa is evidently getting angry at this confrontation, and Garaspala is in no mood to defuse it, because as we said before, he doesn't care if Ilisha dies. Though the former is under orders, again, not by Urisander, but by Hunral, to identify and search travelers, and Garaspala obliges, he also doesn't hesitate to add his own spin on the whole thing. Hunral is underestimating Urisander to his peril. It is also getting late, and Garaspala rides with the company of ghosts. Yikes. And he bids them farewell with one last comment about Narad's
what fell?
About Narad's vulnerability. I just punched my mic, sorry. In short, he calls him an ugly man on the inside. Narad runs away in fear, back to his tent.
Yeah.
Over to Ibis and Dragon's Hold, as he is drilling the Dragon's Hold houseplate. The land has suffered from drought of late, and the animals are suffering all the more than the soldiers themselves. Ibis ponders this question. Yeah, that's what he said. That's what he thinks.
Oh, I thought it was just a good day of training, and that's why they're all tired or something.
I mean, yeah.
The river god is awake. How can they have water shortage?
He says, give water to the horses because they need it more than you.
Yeah, because they're all just lying on the grass and, whiling away their time. Yeah. So he says, get up and take care of your horses first or something. Okay, that's the way I saw that.
Maybe. So, Ibis then ponders this question. Do animals dream? Do they hope? Do they long for things such as freedom? And above all, what did teaching them to kill do to them? Ibis was certain that philosophers had devised such ideas about the intangible and abstract things like the soul and essence. It's called metaphysics. He is also certain that they've devised stolid fortifications to defend such ideas, and above all, they kept it anthropocentric, or I guess in our case, Theist-centric. By the philosopher's definition, animals couldn't have a soul, but Ibis wonders, how could they not? He's seen it flee their body at the very end of their lives, and he sees it each and every time he looks into an animal's eyes. Ibis knew that life was a fire, because it burned itself out eventually. It burned bright, but it consumed all its fuel and then died out. If life and soul, Ibis wonders, are the same, why bother with divisions? Thus, Ibis wonders, you could define things in whatever way you liked, but definitions would always be lacking. Life would refute it, always. See the tyranny of the discontinuous mind for more on this, which is basically the human, or I guess the dice, tendency to classify things, and then nature spits in their face like, no, you can't classify this. Stop thinking in terms of just you. But, if there's one thing that the Ibis section is about, it's that the dice are very egocentrical. So, Ibis is attended by his corporal, Galad, who attempts to compliment the houseblades, and gets the rough side of his tongue for it. The latter knows that he's made a reputation for himself in this regard, but he thinks it's all the better for it that nobody well and truly knows why Ibis feels this way, because in truth he's not sure either. Something just feels off to him. He can't quite put his finger on it, small things compounding to make his skin crawl, from smoke to eerie cries that he can't trace the source to, and so on. Something is up. Something is afoot. He reminisces further on life and the soul, and concludes that even the earth itself must have one to countless souls. He has felt it, after all. Ibis commands Galad to wrap things up and elects to take a walk in the forest. He doesn't do so often, not as deep into the forest heart as he planned to, but the day is one of the days that felt really off. Lord Kharkanas had, via an edict, brought the forest and all its inhabitants under protection, and patrols regularly wandered into the forest. Any poachers caught would be executed on the spot, but the last one was a while ago.
3 seasons back.
3 seasons back. As he walks, Ibis can quite easily tell that the forest is impoverished, and but a shadow of its former self. Large game has long gone extinct, and even the trees were fewer. The forest was dying, and he did not enjoy trekking through it as much as he once did. He takes a moment to wonder why he's here. Is he running from something? Kharkanas needs him, and after all, there's nowhere to run to. Before he finds himself on a trail lined by feminine-looking trees and recall burn. He wasn't aware deniers were present here. Pressing on a bit further brings Ibis to a glade filled with wooden stakes upon which lies a naked female form. She should be dead. For that matter, she should also be decomposed and down upon the earth by now, but of course not. The apparition, if it is indeed one, speaks to Ibis in the guise of a denier witch-ish, and all but schools him about the world around him in very vague but familiar terms. Darkness, light, shadow.
One thing about this thing he sees, it's sort of like a dream world or something, right? Because we see that it was Spite who had sent him like that.
Yeah, yep.
So whatever she says, we don't have to take it seriously, right? It's just some blabbering of some... Yeah.
We don't need to, but, it's here, and it's probably a reason for that.
It's moist lying in streams.
I'm not bothering to decode any of the symbolism. It's just, it's there. I'm just summarizing it.
And she's lying on this bed of spears or something, right? I'm pretty sure you don't know this, but in Hindu mythology, the Mahabharata, there is one scene like this. During the war, there is an 18-day war. That's the main bit of the story, 18-day war between two sets of cousins. And one of the patriarchs of the families, he has a wish to give up his life whenever he wants. So he's shot with a bunch of arrows, I don't know, 20, 50, whatever. And there are so many arrows that he's laid on a bed of arrows, basically. And he decides to live through the entire war. He wants to see the outcome. So he doesn't die, he just lies on the bed for, I don't know, at whatever day he gets killed till the day 18. And then the opposite army guy, one of the good guys, the protagonist of the story, he tells him, do you want he asks for water or something, so he shoots an arrow into the earth next to him, and then there's a spring of water which gives him water. More than reading this, I remember seeing this as this campy TV serial when I was small. So the image is in my head.
That is metal as fuck, though. Holy shit.
Oh, the whole myth, the Mahabharata is extremely good. Ramayana is, okay, I'll get cancelled, but yeah, Mahabharata is a good story. I mean, the story value. Yeah, Mahabharata has great characters and battles and magic. And it's total fun. Sorry, go on.
Yeah,
so,
okay.
Iris sees this lady.
We're just summarizing this place because it's a dream from Spike.
Please do. Yeah.
And we're not going to bother decoding the symbolism because we don't understand it. So,
1 second, pause.
Yeah.
Pause.
So, and we're back after a quick intermission. So, we got through the gist of Ivis's section, and Mora schooled us a bit on the Mahabharata.
Sorry, what?
You schooled us a little on the Mahabharata, and now we're about to move on. So
Mahabharata. It's Mahabharata. Yeah. Mahabharatam.
Oh, is it really? Well, okay, there you go.
In Tamil, it's Mahabharatam, yeah.
The more you know. So we're actually back after a quick intermission. So, Mora took the time to fill us in on a few details from an Indian myth, which I'm not going to attempt to pronounce. And we can continue now, hopefully. So, this witch ghost apparition theme thing accuses Ivis of being an invader in this place, which is apt. Whether or not the meadow is sacred or cursed is very unclear to Ivis. For that matter, everything about the scene is unclear to him. And the woman's answers to his questions are scant comfort, because, as is often the case with such characters, they speak in riddles. So, the Taist have no name for her. She's not the forest's goddess. The forest has no gods, too busy dying. And there's no answer as to who did this to her. Slowly, Ivis comes to the realization that wherever he is, it's no longer of his world. He is lost, perhaps in a dream. So, props to Ivis for figuring it out, because I wouldn't have figured it out. She starts hacking. Probably. So he starts hacking at the stakes until he reaches the woman, who is distinctly not Taist, so not a denier, and resembles nothing that Ivis has quite seen before.
Is that the name?
She looks... Her eyes are slits, which we've not quite heard of before.
It's a dream apparition. I'm not going to bother.
It is. We're not trying. We're not just saying.
Thanks.
It's not a denier. And the second realization of the night, that he's helpless before this apparition, it slowly dawns on him that, I can help you, and you can help me. So, he cannot stop the forest's death, and neither can this woman. It is a cycle of life that things die to be reborn. Yet the Taist have forsaken this, and sought to bend nature to the will, beating their world to death. Ooh. Ivis knows this. I don't think
there's any real-world equivalent to such things. No.
The Cultural Revolution? Not the Cultural... the Agricultural Revolution. Yeah. So Ivis knows this, and he almost comprehends the meaning of this meeting. He turns away, though, before perhaps reaching for the realization. I'm not sure. He just kind of leaves because he realizes I can't do no more here, and I'm in a dream, so might as well. So he turns away, sickened and afraid to the core. A long walk back awaits him, and he knows that should he stop, he will hear the trees sing as they die. Ooh. No idea what he means. Just saying, no idea what any of this means. So, within the walls of Dragon's Hold, yeah? Do you have anything to say
not his genre.
About the scene?
I just said that it's not his genre, tree singing.
Yeah.
My man Ivis wants better songs.
Yeah. So, within the walls of Dragon's Hold, the three daughters of Draconis are plotting. They're plotting in manners very reminiscent of the names Draconis has given them. Plotting to destroy the life of hostage Chandalat Tricorlat, which they know they cannot do, but if accidents were to happen, well... In any case, they're planning to do some wicked awful shit in the future, and Sandalat has put a spanner in the works by existing. Regardless, plotting is fun, so they may as well. An offhand comment from Malice about never growing old. Her two sisters relate a story of a species of bird, whose name I don't remember, whose spawn kill one another until but its eldest remain. Envy and Spite are making plans to grow up fast. It's in their natures, Draconis said. And Arathan's near miss with death, which caused him to grow up significantly faster than all three of them, has evidently given them ideas. And so, to make a long story short, with a lot of fucked up details, I'm not going to relate. They're going to kill Malice to see if this actually works.
Can I just say, when you were reading this, I think one of your responses was, how am I supposed to summarize this?
I have no clue. Like, they just start talking about all sorts of wicked shit that they've done to Malice. And it's just like, what the fuck?
I think the whole scene happens with Envy holding Malice by her neck.
A Spite holding her by the neck, and Envy is like, It's just weird. It's weird. Read it actually, don't read it yourself. Just don't read it. Just read them once and then move on, and skip them next time you read. So, seemingly it didn't work because Malice just dies. And we learned that the plan was concocted by Envy, but the manner in which they went about it was revealed despite it through a dream. And there's some throwaway line about someone choking someone else and Spite making them like it. I don't know.
Yeah, which was it? Was it Osir? Because so far we've only seen Osir choking someone.
I don't believe so. Like because he didn't like it, yeah, because he started like dreading it and shit. So I don't think so.
I mean, at the moment, maybe he liked it. And it's quite unbelievable, right? Like, however strong he is, to use one hand and like choke to death a mason's apprentice. Maybe he had a certain help. Right. Because that's the only one we've seen on screen.
This is where we get like the tinfoil hats and put them on, like, conspiracy. But yeah. So the two have a slight argument, and Envy asks Spite what did it feel like to murder Malice. And so
it's almost as if they're arguing, like, why did you kill her? What happened? Blah blah. And then what was it like?
It was an accident. No. What was it like? And so, of course, after stashing Malice's body into an oven, they elect to clean house. Literally. They speak of some thing their father left behind to protect.
Yeah, please, that is important because first time we generally skip that or we don't understand. We just brush it away as if it's nothing. So there's a temple. Tell me about the temple. What's in the temple? Like, they call it a temple.
Yeah, it's Envy suggests giving it dreams with their aspects, and Spite shuts that down because it's Draconis' power they're messing with here, and he'll know, and he'll kill them if they mess around with it. So Spite considers it a bit further, but Envy already fucked up once, and if this fucks up again, they'll be worse for wear. So you can probably put together what the thing is because it's something wearing Draconis' armor and pacing back and forth.
Inside a locked room, which these guys are too afraid to go mess with.
Which is a temple and a locked room.
Let's just keep it to one side.
Stash it aside.
Maybe it might be important or it might never come up again. Who knows?
If need be, the two children plot to take down even Draconis. They just needed to give people an incentive. They look like children. Everyone else calls them children. They're not of age yet, supposedly.
Fine, sure.
Should I just call them daughters of Draconis? Would that be better?
No, it's fine. You turned on.
Hang on. Yep. Okay, well, so they just needed to give people an incentive to take Draconis down, and God knows Draconis gave enough of those on his own. Until then, though, they will have to settle for the house staff. In the meantime, Grover Rosendalath, who not unreasonably hates it here, her title is overbearing, Hilith is especially overbearing, and she even dreams of murdering her quite brutally, presumably from Spite's powers, but she has taken to avoiding her as much as possible, and when that's not possible, well, she'll have to weather the storm. She is the mistress of the house in Draconis' absence, since his three daughters are not yet of age. In the mealtimes, the house staff would be assembled, Most of them, with the notable exception of Sergeant Atran and Master at Arms Ivis, are quite unremarkable, or in Hilly's case, awful. Atran provides the sole entertainment for Sandalath during these meals by flirting with Ivis in spite of his awkwardness, but she drinks herself to a stupor whenever Ivis is not present. Sand is in her room now, dreadfully awaiting another predictably banal supper. As long as Ivis and Dracones were missing, the dates at Dracon's Hold were obscenely boring. She fondly remembers Ivis' generosity during her first day here, even though she now knows that he doesn't actually have a daughter, and contrasts said generosity with her missing maid's longing for Ivis to return. Keyleth, in the meantime, is being awful. The two maids will need to be punished, probably for the most minuscule of reasons, one of which being stealing their money.
Oh.
Okay. Yikes. Yeah, she's been stashing money by prostituting herself. I'm like, oh yeah, I'll steal that. Just no accidents happen. It's awful, terrible. She makes Daenerys look like an angel. Anyway, but first she happens upon Spite, who seems to have broken her knee, and though Hilith longed to cane her into submission because children must be meek, and how I mentioned that Hilith is awful, her station demands that she treat Spite. When she approaches, however, Spite stands up and Envy stabs her in the back. And as Hilith dies, her last thoughts are centered on the unclean floor and how the maids will need to be punished again because you get the idea.
That's a bad world, yeah.
Meanwhile, Envy and Spite decide that they need... Yeah.
This reminds me of what Cam told us, that Envy and Spite, imagine if they were like allies throughout. Like, This is what would happen, right? This is one of the few instances where they are working together instead of opposing each other. So, yeah. It's a good thing it all stops after this.
Yeah. Thankfully. Hey, Dracones did a good thing for once. Hey. So, meanwhile, Envy and Spite decide that they need a bigger knife.
Because...
Though it works just fine for the women, the bigger man would need something bigger, and though Ivis is away in a dream created by Spite, the armorer and Horsemaster were still going to brew troublesome. Envy's suggestion is to stab him in the neck, but so they move on to murder Atran before the supper bell sounds, because apparently they're on a schedule. They need to kill everyone before, dinner is ready.
Yeah.
All the day's work or some such. Atran, however, is currently dosing herself on some fairly hardcore drugs. Her sperm advances... Yeah, nethberries.
I don't think we've heard that before.
I don't think so, no.
Yeah.
So, her sperm advances upon Ivis have left her feeling desolate and depressed, and so she has to resort to narcotics for a restful, dreamless sleep. She knows she's not ugly, perhaps a bit too thin, granted, but not ugly, and cannot stomach the fact that Ivis simply does not reciprocate her feelings.
He's not gay, but he's still not interested in her. That's what.
Yeah, that's the worst thing. Like, it's not even he doesn't like women; just he doesn't like her and that girls.
Yeah.
Spite calls upon her to look at her knee. Yeah, poor Atran. It sucks too because look at the scene. Anyway.
No, it Spite calls, but not for long. Don't worry.
Okay, that's a good point too. So, which Atran quickly recognizes is a bunch of bullshit because Okay, I'm going to ask you because can you tell at clans whether or not blood is venal or venal?
I'm not sure because all the blood I am used to are all inside plastic tubes, and it's not just. I'm not in emergency, so I don't get to see spurting blood everywhere. But it is supposed to be. You do see some kind of difference when you. The thing is, I'm intentionally choosing arterial blood or venous blood, so I already know what blood it is. But if you would just give me a vial and ask me, is this arterial or venous, I wouldn't be able to tell you. Probably. I'm not sure. Maybe I would, but I don't know. But it is possible. It is supposed to be possible because arterial blood, oxygenated, is supposed to be brighter. And venous is supposed to be bluish or darker, much darker. And the second thing, if she had hit an artery, which is very rare in the knee area,
she would be bleeding out.
It would be spurting, the artery connects to the heart, right? So she mentions that, Atran mentions that it's not spurting, though it is arterial blood, so she knows it's fake. Fake news. You're fake news. That's what she tells her.
So, fairly quickly, Spite drops the act and declares that they're going to kill her. And Adrian, in the meantime, goes nuts on the two girls, almost killing both of them.
Because she's hopped up on what?
Because she's,
some cocaine,
she's like
something,
but therein lies the problem. Killing them awakens their powers. And so the two daughters of Draconis unleash some pretty fucked up sorcery on Adrian. She is, however, spiked up on drugs, and she comes down upon them with God's own fury. It's like the only good scene in their goddamn chapter. Throwing them against the walls, breaking bones. It's the only time I can have fun in this chapter.
Yeah.
Her body is lacerated to bits, so Adrian has to take further medicines, which, by the way, if there exists such a fucking painkiller which is like orally ingested and works that quickly, I would like to have it for research purposes. Just saying.
Yeah, go on. Yeah.
There is no one. She's probably not going to make it.
Like that, but not like, I don't know, instantly. I don't think it's instant.
Orally ingested and that fast?
Orally, no. Nothing orally.
So probably not, yeah.
Unless you put, is there anything sublingual? But even then you'll need time for it to, right. I don't think you can take vitamin sublingual, so.
Probably not.
If you want, I can look into this.
Okay, well. Can you tell I'm a bit drunk?
I've always been interested. We've had these discussions before, like what is the real world equivalent of blood oil? What are all the novellas drugs? There are like many more varieties of drugs in the novellas. And I asked you, and he didn't give me a straight answer of what it correlates to the real world things. So
I'm shocked.
I find it fascinating. Yeah, let's ask Cam next time.
But yeah, so the girl starts yelling before Atran's very eyes. Thinking quickly, she grabs a knife and pins Envy's hands against the table before doing the same with Spite. Wow, it's brutal.
What's the point? No point.
Time? The point is like to burn down the house afterwards. Like get the fuck out and then burn down the house.
But?
Which almost worked, except Malice showed up. But before that, a part of Atran actually recognizes that she's too far gone, both physically and mentally. Madness has overtaken her, and she acted purely on instinct. She needed to get people out and burn the house down. Alas, Malice steps into the doorway and kills Atran with a piece of masonry. Her dead eyes are seemingly impossible to the surgeon. She's seen the look before, and it's unmistakable. Malice was dead.
Yeah.
After Atran dies, the two girls plead with Malice to free them, and the scene fades away. The armorer and horsemaster have gathered at the table, but no. Yeah.
Did you skip through the whole Arathan dogs, that whole thing?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah,
I did.
Fair. Let's not. Yeah, go on.
I did. So
it's fine.
When earlier when they're talking with Malice and stuff, they describe a whole bunch of horrible shit they've done to one another and to Arathan, and just if you want to, you can go back and read that because there's some very interesting shit about Arathan, but I'm not going to bother about bestiality. Sorry. There's enough bad shit happening in this chapter already. So the armor
of the dog. So let's not.
Poor dog. So the armor and horsemaster have gathered at the table, but nobody's here. Not even the smell of cooking. So Fenth, the master of the horse, has long now been furious at Ibis for his pushing of the horses too hard, as though a war was coming. But all that would have had to wait because the entire staff had been murdered. Curious. So Hilbert come back, settle the armor to get out in the house blades because assassins are in the house. So if the hostage were to be killed, the Draconis would be utterly destroyed and not even Mother Dark could save him. Ibis is gone, chose the wrong day to go frolicking in the woods, it seems, and now the cowards are attacking House Dragons. Sandalaf is thankfully all right, and
we must protect the little children. Yeah.
Would anyone think of the children? Sandalaf is thankfully all right, and Ven elects to stand at the doorframe until the houseblade arrives. Gerald has come to gather survivors. Potential conspirators could be among the houseblades.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yes.
Is this another place of Hodor, which we see again in the next chapter?
Okay, I don't know. I haven't read nor watched Game of Thrones, so.
You don't know Hodor? Do you know Hodor?
No.
Seriously?
No.
Okay, it's this guy who only says one word, Hodor. How are you, Hodor? That's his thing. He just says that for like 5 seasons or 6 seasons or something. And then you find out it's like a time loop thing. When he was a child, when he loses his senses, that's because he's able to see the future. Someone has shown him the future. And in the future, his death happens. This is Game of Thrones spoilers. Let's add a warning here.
What the fuck? He dies. That's super metal.
Listen, he dies by holding the door. Because that's his whole goal in life, is to hold the door, hold the door, Hodor. That's the whole thing. How can you not know this?
I haven't watched Game of Thrones.
You don't have to watch it. It's like a huge thing. I don't know. Maybe you were not born at that time, so it's okay.
Okay, fine. So yeah, Hodor happens, and yeah, leads everyone in the keep accounted for, because, as I said, conspirators could be among the houseblades. And in the way back, Sandalaf broaches the subject. Why is this happening? So the best guess anybody can fathom is Draconis' enemies within the court. And Yalad contends that if Draconis were here, he would get answers from the assassins, whether they were dead or alive. Because Ibis has purportedly seen things.
Yeah.
Yikes. Anyway, as they continue walking through the keep, a thought strikes Yalad. Where are Draconis' daughters?
Yeah,
his suspicions are all but confirmed.
The sweet girls, where have they gone?
After he walks into a maid's cell room and returns with his hands covered in blood. They need to find those girls. And to close off the chapter, Ibis walks back to the keep and ponders the philosophical ramifications of what he saw. In a way, Ibis' thoughts on cruelty and the relationship between gods and mortals is a direct reference to Kudaswala's thoughts on the exact same thing, basically, in the beginning, but in wildly different circumstances. He concludes that every mortal is an artist, and the bridge between mortal and god, cruelty, is their creation. He makes his way to meet his houseblades and then take command of the situation by crossing a moat.
He thinks about the bridge between mortals and gods, and then he crosses the actual moat to enter the house.
And he's also been talking about philosophers making moats of their beliefs to defend them.
Yeah, that too.
So,
yeah. It's an excellently written chapter, except for all the murders.
Except for all the murder and the weird things that Envy and Spy talk about. And we're getting to the next chapter that's actually written except for all the murder. Yeah. Lots of murder in these chapters.
Blood. All this blood.
So yeah, I'm not going to say cheers.
So are you done? Okay. Are you done with chapter 13?
I am done, sir.
Right. Let us...
So, I'm not going to say cheers for this, because there's nothing cheerful about this chapter, So,
don't you have anything
in
else?
Loving memory.
No toast? What? Sorry, I didn't get you.
In loving memory.
Sure. Okay. Chapter 14. Oh, God. Okay, recover from your fancy drink.
No, please go on.
You got to tell people what you're drinking.
It's aquavit. It's a Scandinavian grain distilled alcohol thing.
What's so fancy about it?
It's like whiskey.
No.
This particular one, it's so the specific brand is basically supposedly Norwegian soldiers took this to trade within Thailand or Vietnam or something, and they had to cross the equator to do that and go around, the Cape of Good Hope and stuff. Yeah. And they didn't sell every cask, so they returned with some casks, approached them, and realized that this tastes better than the normal stuff. So what does one do? Of course, they load a bunch of casks onto a ship, and they take a trip around the equator, just down and then straight back up, and then sell it. I don't know why. It costs about $50, like 550 krone, which is absurd.
Is it a lot?
It's like, I don't know. It's hang on, let me look this up.
Okay, don't bother. My doubt was this bottle is like advertised as crosses the equator twice.
Yeah.
Right? So what if it was being sold to Australia or New Zealand? No. Would it cross it thrice, or would you just take it once?
I don't know.
They can sell it as cross the equator twice, right? if you're going to the southern hemisphere.
That's the idea. Yeah, I guess if you saw the southern hemisphere, you can't. Yeah, good question. I don't know.
Step it up. You just say cross the equator thrice.
See, so just like kick it up a few more, a few more bucks.
All right, chapter 14. Let's go. Are you ready?
Yeah, maybe.
So yeah,
sort of.
Chapter 14 is a happy chapter because we have a nice wedding, and the bridal procession has already started. And because they have all these traditions, Anestia travels.
This is not going well.
Hard. Okay. She travels inside a carriage and she's supposed to be kept.
Before you go on, we already stated a content warning at the beginning, but like seriously, content warning. It gets bad.
I mean, people who are listening
and we have to
already
be somewhat descriptive. So, yeah.
No, people who read Dust of Dreams are the ones who are listening here. So you know the thing in Dust of Dreams, you think if that's bad, if that made you like stop, then yeah,
it's pretty bad.
Skip this next bit. It doesn't. In the grand scheme, it doesn't matter. Just bad things happen, and then people move on. Then why are we doing this? Actually, can't we just say?
I did insist that we fade to black.
Let's see. If I lose my spine, I'll just
see. The worst thing about it is like there's actual character work done during the fucking thing too. So it's like you can't skip it.
Point. It is going to be important later, so we can't. Yeah.
Fuck.
It's Steve.
Our hands are tied.
Sure. Right. Listen. Anestia is traveling in a carriage. She is kept secluded because she's a bride. And on the other side, the groom is also supposed to travel in a secluded carriage because this is some old superstition they have, which is like, I don't know, still prevalent, I believe. So they go to the great house of Andarist, which we have already been before in chapter 1. Mm-hmm. Chapter 1 or 2? Somewhere.
2.
Thanks. And who's coming with her? Her father Jane, the hostage Krill, servants, Efala is her maid, and there's a troop of like 20 houseplates with them. On the way, they notice some smoke over the forest, and Lord Jane has gone to investigate it. And at that time, Krill is standing, looking, thinking. He's looking at a river and waiting for the Lord to return. So what does he think about? He thinks about an old childhood memory of seeing an ant nest which got flooded, which I don't know. Does it matter? I don't know. So
I don't entirely remember.
So anyway, he's thinking all these things, and then he hopes that Lord Andarist has also started from Kharkanas already, and he still has feelings for Anestia, obviously. Like he's going to stand as a brother next to her when she's getting married, but then he's not really her brother, is he? Mm-hmm. And then he's watching Dosenril, the river, which now runs black. He thinks about the river god and says, "Your water doesn't run clear. You're blind to the shore, and do you now hunger for things, you're orange." And then he sees that these deniers have done no crime. That's what he thinks, that they have done no crime by worshipping a different god. And then he thinks, his thoughts are all over the place. So after this wedding, excuse me. He thinks that his hostage services are gone.
Can start over from the last sentence after the wedding. Sorry, I paused.
Yeah, and then his thoughts are all over the place. So he thinks that after this wedding, he no longer has to stay with the NS family because his hostaging days will be over. So what is he going to do next? One, he spent some time with Skara Bandaris recently. So he thinks maybe he'll join that troop. Maybe he'll become a soldier. Maybe he can join his cousin Spinnock or something. That's what he's thinking. He almost wants to kneel down and pray to the river god, take away the turmoil in my soul and all that. But he's just about to do that, and then Jane comes back. And Jane, for the first time, we see is not this old retired dad. He's also an old soldier, and he's angry. He's pretty angry. He says that the few deniers in his lands, it's not even like a village. It's a tiny collection of huts or something, and those deniers have been killed. They've been attacked and killed. And Krill thinks maybe they're raiders. And Jane says, no, we have to take this as an attack on House Innes. And Krill is he's staying away from politics. He doesn't know what's going on. And Jane rips him apart. He says, how long are you going to stay ignorant, and when will you awaken and things like that. It's good.
Are you angry yet, Goldarov?
That started back then.
Yeah.
Oh, Jane.
Fuck this chapter.
Jane, I know.
Fuck Steven. Fuck this guy. Just fuck him.
And then he thinks that, no, let's just apologize. We love Steve. Please don't.
We really do.
We're conflicted, exactly like what we feel with these characters. Then he thinks that, he says that, this wedding is a bad idea because it's a gathering of all the highborn in this one place. So, it's not a good idea. And then Krill asks if Draconis is the enemy. And Jane, he doesn't even reply to that. He just says, Krill, you're now promoted to become a lieutenant of the Houseblades. Take these people, go back to the estate and muster arms, because who knows, we might be attacked. And Krill keeps saying, no, the Legion won't be slaughtering deniers and all that. And Jane says, no, because the River God has returned. Anyone can justify any killing in Mother Dark's name. Right? And then he's saying that since he has harbored heretics in his land, Jane could also be attacked. Because now they have some justification, right? Like he's subversive. He's not supporting Mother Dark fully and all that. Even every house, every hold could also be accused of the same thing, that they're allowing the deniers to live in their lands. Krill doesn't agree. That's his whole thing in this chapter. Krill keeps staying ignorant or in denial. So he thinks that Scarabandaris is an honorable man. His troops wouldn't be doing such things and all that. And then Jane says, maybe, but we have not met any other troops so far. It has to be his troop. And maybe even if they're renegade units, then that means Urusander is ignorant of it. I mean, who knows, Urusander could be ignorant of anything for Urusander. And now they want to know, is the attack going to be on the estate or at the wedding party? And Jane thinks nobody is going to attack the wedding, right? Because it's the pure egg bros. Nobody is going to attack a wedding. Who will think of doing such things? Not even Handral. And then Krill prepares to leave. Jane says that isn't this better than having to watch her marry another man? And Krill says no, it's not better. It just breaks me so much.
A bold-faced lie.
It's not. He's being honest. He's saying that no, he would rather stay and watch her get married than do the cowardly thing of going away. And then Jane says, you're a brave man or something. It's I read it a different way than you.
No, I mean, I think both sides of merit. On the one hand, he could be honest, or he could be lying to Jane so that he doesn't break his heart when his, shit's going down in his land, his daughter's about to be wedded.
He's accepting that he wants to see the wedding happen, right? Which is, I don't know, do you think he's lying about that?
No, I don't think so.
The most minor point we can discuss, and so
I don't think he's lying in this part now.
Okay. So anyway, he's passing the carriage, and he can actually hear Anestia screaming, and Ephala trying to catch his attention. And what does he tell Ephala? He just meets her eyes and shakes his head. Why is this important? Because in future, someone else will meet Ephala's eyes and say, yes. I hate this chapter so much. Yeah. Now let's cut to Galdan. Who is Galdan? Do you remember? He's Orphan's father. Baby daddy. Is that the word?
Yeah.
So anyway, he's no longer drunk because soldiers have come to Abara and they have drunk everything inside. So there's no more wine.
It's bad as well.
So the soldiers are all Legion soldiers basically, and they've beaten him up and they've left him somewhere outside, and he's gone through his withdrawals, and now there is nothing inside. Did you have a long monologue on nothing inside, nothing outside, and all that in chapter 13? Because the same theme continues here.
I didn't yet.
I mean, it's there. It's the same thing, because even here
we can leave a link to a particular different post on this from in Reaper's Gale. On Rex is the same thing, and Mark Paxton McRae, the guy with Garza, had a few comments on it on an interview.
Oh.
So we'll leave a link to that. It's a Reddit post. We'll leave a link. Yeah.
Okay, so this is what he feels. He feels like completely empty inside. And then all of a sudden he has like this premonition and he knows that she is in danger. Lord reckons she is in danger. So at this point you can think it's either Sandalath or Mother Dark, right? We don't know. We can't say. But we hope it's Sandalath. And then
I didn't think of Mother Dark actually. Good point.
Because he sees that the old Denier temple has been set on fire. You're orange. Yep. And then he starts walking because he wants to find her and save her. Now we cut to Renek, who is around the keep. Neris is all alone. I think she has one maid called Ginia and only Renek. Renek is not allowed inside the house. Do you know that? He's not allowed. Untouchability. He's not allowed. Yeah. It makes me so mad, this whole thing.
Just fucked up. Like, this round is fucked up. Come on.
Yeah. Good thing they do civil war, and I hope. Right. Anyway, yeah. Let's remember that Renek is in his early teens, max. And what has he been doing? He's collecting. Could he be 10 though? Because some sections about Ginia doesn't add up. Could he be 10? I'm putting him at 13. I'm sorry.
Very early puberty, at most.
Sure. No, I mean, for humans, I'm going to put it as 13. I don't care what the tie stage is. Yeah, let's just call him 13. 13 at least. 13 sounds fine with me. 10 is not. So anyway, he's trying to hunt some field mice. And what does he see? He sees a troop of like 6 soldiers riding up to the keep. And one of the women is so drunk, she nearly falls off her horse as she tries to draw a sword. And Renek thinks, oh God, we can't have visitors because we don't have anything to feed them. Poor Renek. And then he runs, as fast as he can because his knees are not like, he has this knocking type of knees. So anyway, he tries to run as fast as he can. And by the time he reaches, what does he hear? He hears Ginia scream because she's being raped by 3 people. And Renek runs to protect her. He only has a switch in hand. He tries to... Yeah, I just haven't poured my drink. So he tries to protect her, but he's attacked by that same woman soldier who calls him a denier. And Renek, he sort of thinks to himself that he's never denied anything because nobody asked him anything anytime. It's just... And then...
Do you see the problem with this whole denier bullshit?
Yeah.
First Rancept, now this.
Okay, anyway, this woman, she asks him, sorry, did you have an answer?
Damn it. About denier being a shitty term? No, but it's just an awful term. It's very prejudiced. It's very self-centered.
A catch-all, right? It's just a catch-all.
Yeah, it's basically for anyone who doesn't worship Mother Dark in this Teist, and that forfeits their life because Mother Dark protects all the Teist, except for those who don't worship her, because of course that's how Mother Dark works. What, are you stupid? This realm is fucked.
There has to be some real-life religious terms which would be equivalent to this. Infidels and things like that.
Heathen, heretic.
Yeah. Anyone who doesn't follow the...
Unbeliever.
Those are all nice terms. You're using the good words. So anyway, denier is the word which is being used here. And this actually made me really stop and I had to stop at this. Because she asks him, Mother Dark isn't good enough for you while kicking him. Which is I don't know. I can read most of the other stuff, but somehow this religious violence aimed at a child it's a bit too much for me. Anyway, she kicks him and eventually, after a bit, she stabs him through his left shoulder, his chest, his hip, everything. And
can we just ridiculous? Holy shit.
Can I just mention one thing about these Legion soldiers? You've been saying that they are stupid and all that. They're also quite incompetent. They can't kill these 3 people. 2 of them survive. Even after putting them inside a burning house, 2 people still survive. How incompetent must they be? Right. That's all. So, as this is going on, Lady Neris, she's also dragged out. She's thrown down. And they're all angry because they've not found anything worth looting in this house. And then Ginia is almost dead by now, or passed out at least. And then suddenly this drunk soldier, she looks around and suddenly she comes to her senses and tells let's start sorting this out.
There's smoke everywhere. And we're in the middle. We're literally in the keep of a lesser house, and fuck.
So, it's a greater house, isn't it? Isn't that why they're able to send hostage?
Yeah, yep.
It's a greater house.
So that's even worse.
Right? Yeah. So then they decide that they're just going to pull all these 3 people inside the house and burn it down. Very easy. And then Renek passes out. And then when he wakes up, he's on the first floor of the house. Imagine these guys, they've dragged 2 bodies to the first floor and left them there. Like, what? It doesn't make any sense.
Why not kill them? Yeah, I don't know.
Incompetence. It's just incompetence. Lazy buggers. So they go there. He wakes up and he sees that the building is on fire. But you know what is smart about this? They've already burnt all the furniture for fuel. So there's no more flammable objects inside the house. So, which is nice. So anyway, he carries Ginia out. She's pale and she's almost gone, but she's not yet dead. So he picks her up. He jumps through the window, saves her, and both of them hide near the ruins of the stables, which has burnt down already. So probably doesn't burn again. He's in love with this maid, Ginia, who has a lazy eye, but he still thinks she's very pretty. And he's been waiting to grow old to marry her. And once he has a son, he's going to name the son Orphantel.
He pulls no fucking punches. He does.
Yeah?
He pulls no punches, the bastard.
Can I just mention that because we've been appreciating Steve so much, can you just mention that the irony of him thinking that if it's a boy, he's going to name it Orphantel? Just if people have forgotten, in Gardens of the Moon, Orphantel is a girl. So let's say dear sister and all.
Yeah, sister. Yeah. So how do you know?
Now we know that Orphantel has to be a male name. It can't be a female name. Maybe you should just leave it alone. Maybe, let's do
just stay orange.
Yeah, why not? And now he wants to make a spear the way Orphantel has taught him, and he's going to hunt the soldiers down. I didn't mention their names because I don't know if this comes up again. Farab, Telra, and Prey. And then finally his mother finds him, and then the boy starts crying and crying and crying. Fun times. Now let's switch to. Actually, this
the
is
more
actually
fun times.
Oh. No, it is Sagander. Sagander is.
It's the fucking idiot. It's the other idiot. Okay, alright. Okay, so I hate this part.
You do? Oh, I found it really fun because
it's
you know what he's doing in the monastery? You know what I wrote in my notes? That he's been overstaying his welcome at the monastery.
He is.
That's the best way I can put it.
He's such an awful motherfucker.
They've given him crutches. They're encouraging him to exercise and do stuff.
He's such an awful motherfucker.
And he wants to just mope around and all that. So anyway, finally the place is under siege and he wants to know what's going on. There's nobody to help him. So he slowly sort of hobbles to the front door and he sees that all the monks have armed themselves and there are legion soldiers everywhere. And the river god is risen. He is aware of that. And he can almost sort of deduce that Mother Dark and her cult are like upstarts now. And probably whole of the citadel and Kharkanas is in turmoil right now. Right time for him to go there. But it's fun. I don't take him seriously, so it's fun. And then the mistress of this monastery, she's been talking to the legion officer. And then she comes back and tells him, go inside because things can get messy here. And then he hears the legion horses seeming to withdraw. And he takes his chance to leave. He tells one of the monks that, I don't do exercise for the sake of exercise, but when necessity demands, I can walk. And then he tells him that, open the door, I'm going to leave. I've already taken permission and I'm going to go. And then his plan, as he goes, is to visit these legion people and show them a way to enter the monastery. Right? Do you know why he does that? Because he wants to serve this river god, which is an old cult that will thrive on blood, betrayal, savagery, violence. It's all good.
Fuck this guy.
Slowly. So Mother Dark, one of the quotes, Mother Dark, strike your first blows. Kill the brothers and sisters, slay the mistress here, it's all she deserves. But this war's last blow will not be yours. He thinks that even if Mother Dark wins this battle, he's going to win the war. So he wants to take vengeance. He's still in that mode. like against Raskan, against Arathan, against Draconis, Will Galak. He can never take revenge on Raskan because guy's gone. And then, this is nice because this whole thing, he swears all this on Scepter's light, which is raised as high as a torch. And then he thinks of the flames which cauterize his stump. I don't know why so much light imagery has to come here. Do you have any idea? I'm not sure.
Like, I'm not sure if you're kidding or not.
So he meets all these soldiers who have left the village already, so he doesn't have a long walk ahead of him. Now comes, Krill is going back to the estate, right? With, I think it's Agalas, whoever. That sergeant and Krill and some of the houseblades are going back home. And on the way they meet Narad, right? They just met an ugly guy. And they ask him, have you seen any Legion soldiers? And he asks, do you mean Hust soldiers or Urusander soldiers? Which I really like that line. It is a good line, isn't it? Like, he's just showing that how out of touch he is. It's a very good, I don't know, he's smart there. So anyway, he's not wearing Legion uniform because he used to be a caravan guard. And we know that the troop, they've actually sent him as a recon to find out how many number of houseblades are going back and how many will be left behind with the wedding troop. This is his whole thing. That's why he's on the road and not on the train. So, and then he says that he's tried joining the border swords, but they won't hire him. So he's on the way to Kharkanas to get a job, right, in the big city. Then they tell him that, once you find the wedding procession, ride closer to them so that, for your own safety's sake, there could be bad guys around. So they tell him that and they keep riding. But somehow Agalas has some red flags. She has some suspicions. She thinks that, he looks like an out-of-job caravan guard, but his horse looks fine. And then all of a sudden she realizes something. What? What does she realize? That he's carrying a
Legion sword?
Yeah, that he's carrying a Legion sword.
Look at me. Surely that's not suspicious at all. No, Krill, it's fine. You don't need to do anything. It's fine.
Krill says that, maybe he just bought it because when they disbanded, people must have sold their swords or something. Krill is an idiot. And then she says, no, most people kept it. Most people did not sell their swords. So if he has it, that means he's ex-Legion. And if he's ex-Legion, where is he headed to? Because he's headed in the wrong direction. He's not headed towards the slaughter. So why is he going there and what is he doing there? They're not able to place him. They don't know what is going on. And Agalas has this suspicion, right? So she says she'll take 4 soldiers with her and go and question that guy. Yeah?
I just hate this chapter. That's all I'm saying.
We should. It's a normal thing to hate this chapter. We can't always love every chapter we read. So then Krill starts riding along with, I think, Corporal or somebody, Reese. He rides with Reese. And Reese says the one joke in this whole chapter. The one quote-unquote joke. What does he say? Do you want to tell me?
I don't. The girl, the sergeant who's Krill's riding with, has been on the other end of torture. Like, what, really? Yeah, I told her my entire life story.
And she survived.
While drunk, I was drunk and she survived. Yeah. Like, this is no time for jokes. I wasn't joking, sir. Okay, dude. All right,
this is the one fun thing, and now we can go to all the sad stuff. So now we can talk about Kadaspala, who was past all the soldiers, and he was snarky with them, obviously. Then what happens? His mule breaks a leg. Why is this guy riding a mule? Why is he riding a mule? Why doesn't he have a horse? Because he has so many painting supplies that he needs a mule. Maybe. I have no idea. So anyway, it doesn't matter because the mule breaks a leg and then he has to kill it, and now he looks like he denied himself with blood splashed on him and all that. So then he carries his heavy supplies and starts walking slowly, and he feels that some denier curse has followed him. Blood has been following him from the camp. What? Nothing?
I'm staring longingly at my intoxicant of choice for the future. It's gonna get rough.
So when he starts walking back, he thinks that art always fails reality. And then he looks at his hands and thinks the same what Galden thought a few chapters back, that one hand is for creating stuff and the other hand is to erase the stuff. Does this remind you of the Karate Kid joke, the meme? Wipe on, wipe off, or wax on, wax off. Isn't that the joke? No? I only know the joke. I've not seen the movie. That's what he teaches.
I don't remember.
Wax on, wax off. So anyway, that's what. So this is what do you call? Who is this guy? Yeah, Karaspala thinks that one hand is for creating stuff and the other hand for erasing stuff, and then he thinks of himself as a liar. He lies to himself. Oh! Are you doing mannerisms now? Nice.
Yeah.
And whatever lies he is being given, he returns them back in vibrant colors for the sake of adoration. Right? I don't believe this because so far we've seen him as being extremely honest and all that, but I don't know why he calls himself a liar here. But anyway, one day he wants to paint beauty. Until then, he will paint blood. And then he starts thinking about this wedding. And do you know his definition of a wedding? Do you know? Do you know what is wedding according to Kanaspala? It is something where beauty is offered up to be sullied. What a dick. Yeah, I know. And then he imagines this painting called the...
I remember that part. The wedding of Anders and Anesia, and this. Wow, like, I don't get fucking dark, dude.
I tried using AI to make images of this wedding. It needs some time probably, because it's described so nicely that these two with their shining eyes and all these happy onlookers, and
but everything else looks dull and like watered down and just gray.
Does it? I didn't read it that way. I thought it was supposed to be a good painting. But anyway, he thinks that his sister is being married and she will be sullied and ruined and all that. And what he wants to do, as any normal, well-adjusted brother would do, is to steal her away, lock her up, and the whole thing sort of becomes unclear.
Happens.
He either wants to paint her or make out, I don't know, he wants to use his hands and does something. So anyway, this is all in his head, and he thinks that it's not illegal to have thoughts. There's no thought police in Kuralkale, which I think we should have. Then he sees tracks of riders and a carriage has just passed, but he doesn't meet anyone anywhere. Do you have something?
No. I did want to bring up the so he describes the painting a little bit, that the flower petals upon the path, tears of color already wilting and trodden upon, and the bright eyes of the two now bound as one, and the lascivious envy of the onlookers. Anesthea was a transient beauty, its perfect day almost done, almost in the past. Handfuls of crushed petals thrown into the river, riding the currents down and away. Tree branches hanging low over the water as if weighted with sorrow. The colors watery and muted as if seen through cold tears. A sky empty of life. The wedding of Andarist and Anesthea. And god damn it, dude, you didn't have to go this hard.
Now, I think we can go from happy thoughts of Karaspala to Narad, who is, still sweating because he feels that this Akalas lady has, she's had some suspicions. He knows that. And then he's thinking of, how he was found by this Legion troop, the Bassa troop, who took him in. And he knows how these Legion people have all these grievances. And then he wonders, what makes this noble-born brat, like Orphantel, better than him or better than any of the deniers? And so, I know.
That's the one fucking thing which Narad says that's actually good in this chapter.
Is that the only one thing? He says
no, it's not. But
good things. Yeah.
He does, but this is the one thing I want to talk about. These guys, these Legion soldiers, are we already went over. They're idiots. They're incompetent. They're just. But the thing is, their grievances are directed not only towards the wrong enemy, but they're not directed properly. They're acting on orders because that absolves them of responsibility. Rather than using the power that they have to wrought change, they have to be given orders so that it absolves them of responsibility and guilt and shame. They have to carry out the orders while disguised so it doesn't fall on them. And it's just, what are you achieving by framing the deniers? What, are you going to get respect that way?
I think it's called mob mentality. Mob mentality.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. But what I mean is, like, if you seek to create change, you don't target more marginalized groups. You go after the ones in power. You seek to change the system, but they don't, because the people who are guiding them are trying to maintain the status quo. God damn it, Honral, and these fuckers just... I hate this chapter. Please carry on.
You haven't even got to the worst part.
I haven't even got to the bad part, and I just fucking hate these people.
So anyway, then he thinks of all this, and then he thinks that one day he's going to kill Haral. He'll kill Grip. He'll even kill the boy. And all this happy thoughts.
Okay, he blows
and
it.
What does he do? What?
He blew it quite quickly. He had a few good thoughts, and then he just fucked it. So yeah, whatever.
Then he hears horses behind him. And instead of stopping and asking what's going on, he just runs for it. And as he's running, he literally shits his pants. And he's saved by Basa and gang because they don't abandon him. But he does. Yeah.
I know he does. I know.
So we're laughing at poop jokes. Yeah, okay. So anyway, they come and save him and they fight the house blades and Narad is saved. And then they all go and they tell him to clean up at a river and Basa even gives him new clothes. And he says that soldiers of the Legion will never be left alone. Even if you think that you're alone, you're not alone. And Narad says he will pay back for the clothes. And then he said, no, you have to pay it forward. We are all in the Legion. We take care of each other. Just imagine this poor ugly guy who's been taken into a group like this. I don't know why we have to have nuance in characters. Why can't they just be plain bad and plain good? And we can just read it in a blink and forget it. So anyway, and
we should do that next time. We should just read like the essay because everyone's bad in that book.
Which one?
There's literally no redeemable. Second Apocalypse, the Second Apocalypse by Becker. There's just nobody's good in that book, so it doesn't matter. You can just root against no one. Just like get. So yeah. God, why am I reading this book?
And one more thing, because during my first read, I missed out so much of this subtext here because I was fixated on all the other things that was happening. But basically, Barsa says that, come on, we have a wedding to attend. So we already know that the target is the wedding. It's not the estate. And now we come back to Kadaspala. He finds an abandoned shelter and he decides to sleep there. And he wonders if the next day when he goes home, will anyone even recognize him? He imagines that Jane looking at him with disgust and his sister looking at him with shock and Krill laughing and putting an arm across his shoulders and welcoming him home. And all sorts of shit which doesn't happen. So then he thinks, Teist have started killing Teist in the name of God. But then he asks, where is this God's loyalty to you? Like, is the God loyal enough to spare your life? It's not loyal enough to steer you past tragedy or grief or loss or misery. It is not loyal enough to save your loved ones or even the children who had to die as proof of that loyalty.
I'm going to be entirely honest. I don't remember any of that because I dreaded the fuck out of the coming scene, so I did not pay attention. But that sounds fucking awesome. Holy shit. Great. I need to read that again.
You me like you're so loyal to your gods, but where is this God's loyalty to you? Which is, I don't know, amazing. Kadaspala, man. It's Kadaspala. So yeah.
We'll
then he thinks
get to that.
Time when he had asked and was turned down to paint a portrait of Anamander. Why? Because he had seen something in him and he thought if he painted him for days together, he can pierce the mystery. Because Anamander has, this is too much. He has some sort of ancient assurance, but he's not a cynic and there is no hint of privilege in him. That was a stepfather, that was Drac. I think it's like Galan telling us that, don't man the ramparts because I'm going to do it for you. But anyway, he thinks that Anamander has strength and weakness are inverted in him. And the thoughts are just all over the place in this chapter. There is like no logical correlation. Then he thinks about historians because he thinks that the first historian, the honest first historian he's going to meet would be someone who is broken and weeping, not talking or not meeting gazes. Does it remind you of someone? Do you know any historian like that? One or two? Tell me.
Like, isn't like every historian Malson like that? Like both Duiker and Rais Harat are like that.
Rais Harat is not sitting and crying in a corner. Heboric is an ex-historian.
Heboric is more technical. He's not so much crying in a corner.
It's Duiker. Like Duiker. Because I'm reading Toll the Hounds, I can see so clearly that it's exactly describing Duiker. I'm telling you, man, Erikson had TTH open when he was writing Forge of Darkness. He had to. Because even the chapters, like up to 10, 12 of both books are like sort of mild, sort of just going along. And then chapter 13 in both books are like a step in the wrong direction. Yeah.
Isn't it 11 when Cruelspar happens?
But Cruelspar didn't bother me that much as the 13th chapter. That's... I mean, that's the thing with Malazan. People dying really doesn't bother me. It's when people are sad about it. Like Whiskey Jack getting stabbed is like, oh, okay, oh, sorry, oh God, he died.
Oh, poor guy.
And then Morlat crying over it makes me cry. That's always like that. No?
Oh, yeah, I mean, I agree, yeah.
So, I don't want to talk about Whiskey Jack and Brucalion and all that now. This is not a time. We have sadder things to talk about.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And then he keeps extending this analogy of Anderist being the one who creates. Silkas is the hand waiting to destroy. And Anamander is in the center owning both these hands. He is defenseless, but he's impenetrable. And how is he going to answer the coming war? Can I tell you more Hindu mythology stuff?
Please do. Please do.
We have like 3 gods, one for the god of creation, one for destruction, and one for like preservation or maintenance. So it's like that.
I like how it's just like maintenance. It's just, it's just under construction.
It's like, I think preservation is what is usually said. I'm not sure. I don't know the term correctly. But yeah, that's how it is. Shiva is the one who will destroy everything.
Yeah, Shiva, Shakti, and Ganesha, I'm guessing.
Not Ganesha. Ganesha is the god of like beginnings. It's Vishnu is the preserver. And I think the creator is Brahma. You would say Brahma, apparently. Right? It's Brahma.
Okay.
So, Brahma, Vishnu, Shiva.
Sure. The fuck is Shakti then?
And you know how... What? Sorry? What?
Presence. I remember Shakti being like what you described as Shiva now, and I'm like, hang on, am I dumb?
Shiva's wife is Shakti. Shakti means like strength, the feminine strength.
Right.
Shiva is like a very egalitarian god. He gives half his body to his wife, and there is a god called Ardhanarishwara. We should do an episode on Hindu mythology, man. I'm
fucking crazy. Down. I'm down. No, yeah.
I find all those things so fascinating. So, right. So anyway, this is Anamander in the center with Anderist and Silkas on both sides. And then he thinks that even if Inestia is like ruined and sullied by being married to this guy, at least she'll be safe.
Sake.
I know. She will not be preserved. She'll not be preserved like the pickled segule, but she'll be safe. And he doesn't like the thought.
That one got me off guard. Okay.
I shouldn't be adding humor to this chapter. Yeah.
Yeah, just keep in mind Kadaspala's thoughts about, dead child's eyes and collars and death and stuff like that. Just saying that.
It's what?
The chapter. Well, she says that, when in death is when the gods of color are absent. So when someone dies for Kadaspala, they stop existing, right? And
I'm talking about that.
This comes up again later.
Yeah. Now Krill has reached the estate. He's at a nearby hill and he's looking over. Everything looks peaceful. And he sees that this vantage point where he's looking at the estate, the same thing, a few soldiers have come some time back, but nobody has attacked anyone. They have come, stood there exactly like him, and then they have gone back. So they don't know what to do. And Krill thinks that maybe they're trying to attack the procession, the wedding. Reese says, how can anyone attack the highborn? It's not possible. It's a greater house. She is the bride of Lord Anderist. How could they do this? The Legionnaires are not capable of such things because he has
we have friends in the Legion. Not all legionnaires.
The people there. Yeah. Hashtag what?
Not all legionnaires. Yeah.
Yeah. So and then if such things happen, Lord Urusander will be the first one to hunt them and cut them down. Then Krill says it's possible that they can attack and make it look like deniers have done the attack. And regardless who kills who, it doesn't matter. Any murder, any chaos that happens in the realm, it only leads to one thing: the return of the Legion. Right? So Krill thinks that they can actually attack the wedding group before the groom side reaches them. So that means by dawn they should be attacking. And if they can provoke the brothers to blind rage and they don't know what they're doing, then maybe the civil war will be, placed at their feet. You can say that they are responsible for beginning the civil war because they started it. Right? Who remembers who instigated stuff, right? You only remember who made the first attack. So Krill is going to take 2 horses. He's going to cross the river during this dangerous time, and he's going to go and warn Jane and prepare for the attack of the wedding procession. Then Narad is with Bursa's troop. They meet another troop of soldiers, and we are led to believe that the woman there is Infian Manan, maybe, or at least someone pretending to be her, or pretending to be following her orders, or using her name. And I've told you this before, but the whole of Kural Galen could be saved if they all had like government issued ID papers and like written orders. So if today if you go and tell someone you should attack this wedding party and they say show me the order, things would be much simpler. It's not like that. Everything is word of mouth, and yeah. So that's why civil war happens. So they meet up these guys. Maybe I should write an essay on how to prevent a civil war or something like that.
Don't have your realm suck would be a start.
So anyway, Bursa has sent a messenger to Kharkanas to meet Skara Bandaris and inform him that these things are happening. But this new troop, this Infian Manand they have intercepted that messenger. They think that no Legion soldiers should reach Kharkanas for now. And she also says something like these small acts of drawing blood. It's necessary to prevent bloodshed later. And they have all these denier clothes.
Which Hunral did say earlier, right? That he plans to have a civil war, but he plans to make it short.
Yeah.
By apparently attacking highborn sense.
It's a drunk. Who cares? So anyway, they've been given clothes that will
the first person they deceive is themselves. Yeah, go on, sorry.
Yeah, they have clothes which make them look like deniers. And so that if anyone dies, their body will be left behind. No, but these things I never noticed when I read the first time, that they're going to dress up as deniers, and if they leave behind a few denier bodies, then they're going to think that deniers have attacked them.
That's what the brutality is for, right? That's what the excess brutality is for. They mentioned this.
Yeah.
That they're going to be excessively brutal because it needs to be it's not Legion soldiers. They're professional. They don't rape. They don't torture. They just kill people. Professionally. Yeah. Because it's merciful. Bullshit! No, I'm sorry. Let's carry on. I just don't like this chapter. I'm sorry.
So anyway, there is this random woman who we have this nameless marine type of a woman who just keeps talking to Narad throughout the chapter. And she says something like she was raped and mocked and almost drowned by 4 noblemen.
Don't invoke Salus's name in vain.
I didn't invoke her name. I just said nameless marine. Didn't you say?
Don't draw such comparisons.
It's the same thing. Someone in the midst of battle, she doesn't give a name.
And the difference is stark, right?
Is sort of interested in her.
And the difference is stark.
I don't see any difference.
No?
Tell me.
No, in Deadhouse Gates, the whole point is that they remain nameless because it's a thing of pride. It's a thing of courage to not write the names of the dead, to forget the dead, so that the living can go on. And it is a failing of courage in Salus's part to give her name to Duiker at the end, right?
I don't agree with you. I don't agree with that.
You don't agree with me?
I read that post. I don't agree with what you said about Salus, really.
You don't agree with me what I said? Okay.
I don't think it was her failing of courage or anything like that, because that is something that comes up only with Duiker's point of view, that someone remains nameless. I don't think everyone subscribed to the same idea. So why would she giving her name as a loving gesture be something like a failing of courage or anything? She gives it to him because she likes him. She wants him to know her name even if she dies. Why is that a failure of courage? Sorry, what? She
because
dies.
I think she knows. No. I think she knows that he doesn't want her name if she dies.
Does she? I don't think so.
He probably fucking told her. They got laid a few times, right? The guy's a dour motherfucker anyway. She probably guessed.
Tell her, I don't want to know your name. We're just going to bang. I'll not tell you. Don't tell me your name. Do you think that's the type of conversations we could?
Yes, honestly, yes.
Let's get back to Kharkanas. Let us do this again some other time. But I vehemently disagree with
that. There's a difference. Yeah. There's a difference.
I don't see any difference because this is another nameless soldier who's taken a liking to this guy.
It is. But anyway, yeah. Nameless soldier. Don't compare her with Salas because I like Salas. I don't like this person.
We all like Salas. We all hate this woman, but it doesn't matter. Salas never raped anyone. So.
Thank the fucking gods.
Book of the Fallen is like almost a children's story compared to this.
Yeah, right. Like, God damn. Why aren't we reading it? Oh, God. Fuck this book.
Okay, wait. Let's finish it. It's, we don't have much left. So she risked her life to keep the realm safe, and this is what she gets in return. Being raped and drowned by these noble-born guys. And Narad sees that other people have also been listening. Everyone has this lists of wrongs like that. And then he thinks to himself, my face was ruined by a legion vet like you.
So you can all go you.
But then he's learned his lesson, so he doesn't say anything out loud. He keeps quiet. So now the wedding procession has made camp in front of the house. Jane and Anestia have a long time talking, and this is something I just hate. Steve knows these guys are going to die like in the next page.
Oh yeah.
And they have this deep conversations, and I keep thinking, oh, they have all these thoughts. Oh, they're going to do something. Something is going.
Oh, they're gonna fucking die.
There is going to be a future, and no, everyone dies, and Jane dies off screen, which I'm never going to forget. I mean, maybe it's a good thing he dies off screen because it would be much sadder to like see how he dies. But still, anyway, so these two are talking, and okay, you know what my note says? Jane and Anestia spend some time talking, which I don't want to recount at all because nothing matters because everything is going to shit in a minute. Jane has some suspicions that Anestia has feelings for Krill. He says that Anderis is a fine man, but if she doesn't love him enough, then let's return home.
And he loves life, and that's his gift. And like, oh my god, that just rips your heart out. And it stomps on it repeatedly.
I know.
And I hate this chapter.
Just let me just get through this, please. And then he says, daughter, let's just return home in the morning and let us weather anything that may happen. Let's face it. He's a good dad.
Savor this.
Please do. And she says that Anderis is the least ambitious of the brothers. And Jane says that he is a precious man because his love is for life itself. And that makes him no lesser than his brothers. Sorry?
Hodor.
Hodor.
I don't like this chapter.
Okay, enough.
Please continue.
Listen. Anestia thinks that if they call off the wedding now, like the day before, then they're going to hurt him at his most vulnerable, and so that will destroy his gift of life. Do you agree with this? You shouldn't. If you're having doubts in a wedding, even if it is like the last minute, just please call it off and go home. Don't say that I'll break his heart now, rather than staying in this type of marriage and destroying him every day. And she's not a nice lady. And then Jane thinks that Krill did the honorable thing for her. And she cries that I wish he hadn't done. He wasn't that honorable or something. And then they cry. And then in her mind, she promises herself that she will never let Anderis doubt her. But in her imagination, do you know what she's going to do? She's going to emotionally cheat on him. Because she's still in love with Durav. And maybe it's a good thing Anderis never married her.
Fuck.
So now, Narad is dreaming of beautiful women who turn away from him and recoil in disgust and all that. And he feels the gods have been unfair to him and he cries a little bit because behind his ugly face, he's an honest man who is capable of love. My question is, would he feel the same way if he sees an ugly woman like him? No. He wants a beautiful woman regardless of how he looks. Right? Anyway, all he wants is what everyone else seems to have. Something beautiful to hold on to.
Yeah? Don't fucking like this. No, just me saying I don't like this.
They tell him to have a cold breakfast and everyone should arm themselves, and about 100 of them, I didn't know the numbers till here, that there are 100 of them. They start moving towards the wedding procession in the camp, and then he thinks of all the innocent people who are sleeping ahead of him. And then he thinks, does innocence really exist? Who knows? Who knows? Anyway, he does not want this, but there is something in him is hungering for what is to come. And in this darkness, when they are moving there, he feels no uglier than the rest of them. And I think you missed out one important bit what Karaspala tells Narad, which I found very, very interesting. He says that
no
I can see the man you were.
Yeah. Now he was an ugly man inside, and now it's outside. So, when he says, I'm an honest man.
This vulnerable, it's amazing. Yeah.
I mean, so he calls him the fuck out.
He feels that he is no uglier than the rest of them. Then he starts vomiting, and the same woman helps him. The same nameless soldier helps him. And then she sort of gives him a pep talk that a soldier's creed is to do, not to think. Does it remind you of some other army in the future where they're, encouraged to think, and that's what sets them apart? Any other soldiers come to mind?
I'm thinking more real life of soldier. This. Oh, this is gonna get way too dark. No, the Malazans are encouraged to think.
And then Malazan soldiers who are because Katran,
and then you have the other theory who are whatever, just it's for business, right? So we're just gonna exterminate all the old because they were bad for business. Just fuck these people. Can we get on? Can we get on with it so I just can drink in peace, please?
He needs to think that it should be about the peace that is coming. That's what she tells him. That think about the peace in a year or two, when the nobles will be weak and real people like us will be living respected. And that's your favorite quote. He thinks, do you think living respected will ever take the place of self-respect? You're all fooling yourselves. And then the attack begins.
And who said that before Narad? Before we get to the bad stuff?
Who said that? I don't know. Oh.
Do you expect that command will give you respect? Do you think that a soldier...
Yeah.
No, it doesn't. Respect is earned, but not by being a soldier or by being a commander. It's by earning it. And this is not how you earn it. Especially not self-respect, by being a fucking asshole. Okay. Alright. Let's just get on with this. I'm sorry.
Sorry, yeah. So,
last content warning, because this is about to get bad.
Okay, yeah. Shit. The attack begins. Lord Jane has spent the whole night making rounds around the campsite. He's feeling old and he's feeling depressed because he has centuries more to live. And he's thinking maybe I should take up drinking or something. And when the attack begins, he tells Ephala, the maid, to grab Anestia and go inside the house. The house blades form a line. They start to face the attack. Jane rushes to the house with these two women. And as she enters the house, he thinks, he takes a moment to think this is like an ill omen because the bride is entering the house without a husband. And
superstition.
Yeah, it's ingrained. And once they're inside, what does Jane do? He goes into what mode? Hodor mode.
Hodor.
I think
we should not be laughing at this.
We might as well laugh. Why not?
We might as well laugh, yeah. What's done is done.
We have done enough crying and enough. It's all.
Yeah.
So anyway, he meets Ephala's eyes and she nods. And he nods. And that's when she slams the door shut and he faces
and he Hodors.
Yeah, he does that, yeah. And Krill is still a distance away and he can hear the sounds of fighting and sword clashing and all that. He rides hard and he sees that the retreat has gone inside the house. So, he's a Durav. So, what does he do? From the horse, he leaps into the house.
Through a fucking wall.
I know, this
like
is
the fucking Kool-Aid man.
And you think that, oh God, yes, the hero has come. The day is saved and happily ever after.
This is the wrong series for that. I'm sorry.
I know. You've not been paying attention if you think this has a happy ending.
Nope.
So anyway, Ephala dies in front of him as he's protecting Anestia. Can I just take a minute to acknowledge that she is a maid? why does she have to die because this noble-born, spoiled brat has to live? Like, classism.
It's ingrained
I don't
into
like
their
these
culture.
things. Yeah. Anyway, he tells Anestia, take a horse and run. Please just take a horse and run. And then he goes into what mode? I'm calling this the Durav mode because he starts attacking people left and right. No, it's Durav mode. And then he attacks everyone, but then, not for long. He dies just within the threshold. And as he's dying, somebody steps on his fingers. And what does he feel? No pain. He feels
just wrongness. Cheers.
A sense of wrongness. So I think that's what we should call this chapter, A Sense of Wrongness. No? That's a good title. And so this is cut to black, Krill dies. And shall we just say the chapter ends here and we can...
Yeah. No, we're not getting into this. Nope. I'm already drunk. I'm sorry. Can we move on?
There's just one paragraph. There is it starts with, they caught the noble-born woman as she was trying to climb the window. You really want me to cut it?
No, it's going.
Yeah. So as she was trying to climb out, she was dragged inside, and it's so brutal the way Erikson uses words here. The raping began.
There's no subtlety.
So anyway, and then Narad, he's also pushed inside the hall, and his friend laughs at him and says that you can finish your beauty, she's all yours.
Because he can't get hard at rape.
So she has to help him a bit to get ready.
These people are fucking
awful. So anyway, he looks down at Anestia, and she's so far gone, she doesn't even blink. And as he is raping her, he begs her forgiveness. And yeah.
Fine.
It's what's the point? But anyway, he begs it. He asks her to forgive him. And she dies.
And then she dies.
Yeah. And then people tell him that, this is when she drew her last breath and all. And then he remembers that Beauty had died in his arms. So because we're talking about beauty and all that, let's cut to Karaspala, who wakes up with
Here comes our boy. Yeah. And if you've read all the Hounds, you know exactly where this is going. So
so he wakes up. He can hear some screaming in his head.
Can I say something?
Yeah,
can I please? Before we go.
Please.
So I'm fairly convinced that the Book of the Fallen would have would have probably faded to black. We've seen Saren, right? Where it's just oh, this happened, and here's the aftermath. No, that shit here. This is Galan, baby. None of that. You're getting the full package. You're hating the people. Why?
No, because we don't really get that much of a detail except one line or two lines. But the point is...
It's very vulgar.
The point is, it is spoilers. It is future spoilers, which we can't bring up here.
I'll take your word for it. But yeah, I mean, it's vulgar, it's brutal, and it's upfront. It doesn't fade to black. We're just okay, yeah, by the way, she died. No, she dies in Nara's arms. Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
I know, but still.
It is spoilers. It is spoilers. So that's why the scene has to happen, and that's why we are not cutting to black, even if Galan made a choice to do that. So there's a reason why we are having this.
Okay.
That's what I think. I mean,
yes, but yeah. So yeah, I agree. There's a plot reason and a narrative reason. The narrative reason is Galan's not going to shy away from such scenes because this is what really illustrates how fucked this society is and why you shouldn't feel pity, I guess, when they inevitably all go to hell. But there is a plot reason which we'll get to later, so we're not going to bring it up now.
So anyway, Karaspala starts running as much as he can with his busted leg. He even leaves behind all his supplies.
He just goes, oh, no. He just starts running. So that's how we're naming this chapter, by the way. After, sense of wrongness, and then, oh, no.
So anyway, at Andres' house, he sees that there has been no movement at all. And there are only dead house plates. And their faces are as flat as the thinnest paint. Then he starts moaning, he starts making this strange noise. He steps over his father's body, then Krill's body, then Efala. And finally, in the hall, what does he see? He thinks that thing can't be her. And then his moaning becomes a sort of keening sound. And you know what it is called, that sound? Please tell me. I know you're waiting to tell me. Oh. No, a sound tasting of blood, a sound smelling of oil.
Oh, yeah. Which, if you notice, it brings up all of his senses except his eyesight. And also, it's incredibly descriptive. Like, that is excellently written. Describing a sound like that is just the best way to incorporate how, like, out of this world's experiences for Kharkanas. Because remember, anesthesia is the pinnacle of beauty for him. Anesthesia is the pinnacle of what his worship is centered. Yeah. It's his faith, yeah, exactly. And his faith died on the hearthstone, which symbolism. But beyond like the ancestral thoughts that he's been having and all that shit, like it's not legal to think. Kharkanas in Forge of Darkness is the narrative drive behind the book. It is the chief POV that Galan uses to explore the theme. Every theme which is important in Forge of Darkness has been explored by Kharkanas. With Ursander in Chapter 2, gods, faith, justice, art, because this is a poet talking to another poet, so obviously we're going to talk about art. All of this, all of Forge of Darkness can be viewed through the lens of Kharkanas, and this is his culmination, his insanity, his madness that takes over him because his faith is crushed and killed. His gods abandon him, which, if you've not noticed the parallels by now, I'm going to point them all out one by one, but like, you get the idea. It's excellently written, and it's fucking horrific, and I hate every second of it. So, there you go, Steve. Thanks.
So anyway, ultimately he pulls his eyes out, he rips them out, and then in the dark he feels at peace. The voices die. Peace, sort of. Except he has one question running in his head.
Yeah.
Says, how does one paint love? Done. We're done with this chapter. We're never going to read this again, and we're done.
Yeah. The last thing I want to point out is the Forge of Darkness after the prelude starts with "There will be peace," and those are words that are written upon the lintel of Draconis' house.
Yeah.
And Draconis is.
Can we take a break?
Yeah.
Sorry. Pause.
We're gonna stop now, aren't we? Oh. Okay. So, we're back again. We're talking about, there will be peace, right? Which is carved on the lintel of Draconis' home. And Draconis is the suzerain of night. Right?
Right.
And here, one chapter before, Kharkanas says that, behold, in darkness there is peace.
Oh.
Full circle.
Oh, yeah. Good catch. Yeah, nice.
Like, fuck this guy. Forge of Darkness is... It doesn't matter what happens after this. Like, okay, 15, maybe. From 15 onward, I honestly don't even remember what happens. Because it doesn't matter.
You don't remember? Even I don't remember. I thought you knew, like, where the story is headed.
I have vague details, but I don't remember, like, when the book ends. Because this is where the thematic section of the book ends, right? Kharkanas is the be-all end-all, because he has explored every theme, and now his arc is over. He lost. His gods are dead. His gods abandoned him. The beauty is dead. Brutality has prevailed. Cruelty has prevailed. And, okay, sure. Then we go visit an Amander or whatever, and Ursander and Ral and whomever.
This is not spoiler all.
Yeah, I know, but, fake. Okay, we'll probably see what an Amander does about this, or Andres or whomever. Which I should note right here that in Midnight Tides, because Midnight Tides is stupid, Scarabandaris is supposed to be the cause of Andres' grief. So Galan points a middle finger to that. Says no, we're not doing it like that.
Do you know what Tolderhound says? Andres' grief is the whole thing. Tolderhound
because Mother Dark abandoned them.
No. He says he blames everything on Anamander.
Yeah.
Do you know what Anamander did to his brother and my sister? It's all his fault and things like that. As if
it is. It isn't. No, it isn't. It isn't. It's not. It's just.
It's Book of the Fallen, which is a different reality. Nothing to do with this.
Well, we have accepted this, haven't we? Yeah, we have declared that's a different reality. So it's the same names, different characters. Yeah. So, to formulate more specifically my annoyances with this chapter, or not the chapter itself, not like how it's written, but like there is nothing that will be gained for the Legionnaires by reactivating the Legion. The only people that stand to gain are people like Conral. And for some godforsaken reason, they cannot see this. And it doesn't baffle me, they're fucking stupid. But it's just, it's shocking to me that they don't. That they can't understand, they can't comprehend.
This type of thing, we have been seeing the same theme again and again in Book of the Fallen. You take a lie and you keep repeating it. Yeah. And people are going to believe it.
And
that's what the Legion is doing, right?
Let me pull up the quote. Hang on. Hold up. Search the memory. So Galan appears to hold to the childish notion that some truths are intransigent and undeniable. Alas, the adult world is never quite so simple.
Yeah.
All truths are malleable.
Yeah. You should get a tattoo of that. All truths are malleable.
All truths are malleable, subject by necessity to revision. Have you noticed yet, Galan, that in the hearts of the people of this realm, truth is without relevance?
Galan?
They have accepted. Yeah.
Galan?
Galan.
Okay.
I don't actually remember the rest of the quote. It's something about it has been propagated into faith, and that faith in turn is not open to challenge, and in challenging one commits treason. So, I mean, it's almost like these books were written by the same person, and like they have somewhat similar themes, but like it's so baffling because none of this needed to happen. Obviously, even like we've gone over this, but that their grievances are legitimate. It's not bullshit. Like they're obviously wrong. Things are bad. Kuralgali needs reform because it's a classist, casteist, sexist, extremely prejudiced society. It's shit. But not like this. Not by upholding the status quo and then seeking to install a new status quo. The only people who seek to actually break the status quo are Karaspala and, in a certain manner, Narad, which is interesting. Like in this chapter, Narad seemed to like challenge the preconceived notions like, why do you deserve better? Why are the noble-born better than us, but are we any better than them? Like when we're doing things like this?
That same point which I told you before, how the narrative sort of disregards Jinia's rape as opposed to Celestia.
Yeah, we didn't bring this up. I forgot. Oh my god, I forgot completely.
No, it's fine. It's fine. Like that's the whole point.
It's bad.
That's the whole point.
That everyone forgot, except for Rennick. Yeah. But everyone else forgot.
Yeah. I mean, that's the way it is, right? It's so sad. Anything more?
Plenty. But, yeah, might as well save it. Yeah. So, well, if you've stayed with us so far, I applaud you. If you've skipped this far, I understand you.
Good.
And thank you very much for listening and for watching. This has been a special episode for both of us because neither of us liked it. Like, it's not... The discussion it springs is fascinating, but god damn, it was not fun. But yeah.
We didn't take Kharkanas, the trilogy of the happy and the smiling.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, some guy on Reddit called it the Malazan book. Hopefully, the Malazan book of the happy and the So no, Kharkanas is not that, unfortunately. So anyway, well, you probably knew that walking in, so I shouldn't be telling you this. But in any case, we thank you all for watching and for listening. Yeah, and thank you, Maura, for actually summarizing the chapter because I couldn't. So.
I would much rather
good night, everybody.
talk about it than listen. Yeah.
True enough. Yeah.
Right.
Good night, everyone.
So good night. Have a drink.